Oh.
It is 7 o'clock, but we don't yet have a quorum, so I'm going to hold off for another minute or two here.
Oh.
One, two, three, four, five. Okay. It's right there. One more. Okay, it's now 7:02 and we have 5 members present, so that's a quorum and we can get moving on with the agenda. This is, again, I'm Stephen Hardwick. I'm the chair of the Clintonville Area Commission Zoning and Variance Committee. First of all, do we have any objections to the agenda from the committee members? Okay, it's approved without objection. The announcement that our next committee meeting will be July 29th, 2020. Now I'm going to consider the previous meeting's minutes. They were linked to in the agenda. Does anyone have any comment or a motion?
I make a motion to approve.
Do I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, I will. Approved 5-0. Now, and on the initial agenda, we had the waiting period for 3387 North High Street. That was, the applicant decided that they did not want to waive the 60-day waiting period. Just for the public to know, the commission cannot stop a demolition. The only authority that the commission has is to waive the 60-day waiting period. And if an applicant doesn't want to wait, is happy waiting the 60 days, they don't have to appear before the commission. I can say that the Clintonville Historical Association did contact me, and they were opposed to waiving it, and I did give them the contact information of the applicant so that they could talk with them and see if there's anything they can do about it. Hello, member minister. Let me see. Okay, now we're moving on to the first item of the agenda, 543 Fallis Road. I'm adding committee members. Ms. Teal is here. Just for Minister and Teal, we just approved we're just ready to start the variance agenda. 543 Fallis Road, BZA 20049. In order to replace a garage, David Eppard, who's speaking for the homeowner, Mike Holtman, seeks variances to reduce the side yard from 3 feet to 1.5 feet, to reduce the garage to house maneuvering requirement from 20 feet to 18 feet. The immediate neighbor did send in a letter of support, which is linked to in the agenda. And Mr. Holtman and Mr. Eppard, I do want to apologize. I call in the initial agenda and in the notices that went out to the public, I listed Mr. Eppard as the homeowner instead of the applicant who's representing the homeowner, and I do apologize for that mistake. Would either of you like to speak on this? Mr. Eppard, I see you're trying to connect to audio. Mr. Holtman, are you here?
Yes, I'm here.
Would you like to speak? Would you like to speak about this?
We're just looking to maintain our current setbacks that we have on the existing garage, and then utilizing additional space back behind the garage within the current setback codes that are out there and everything. So, based on that, we're improving the property visually. The building is original, the garage is original to the property here, and we're just looking for consideration for that.
And you said you tearing, I forgot, you said you're tearing down the existing garage and rebuilding, or you're adding on to it?
Yes.
Tearing it down.
Tearing it down, yes.
And is the setback, this is the same setback line as the original garage?
Yes.
Okay, same setback as original. And it's same footprint, but it's a little bigger footprint, but same setback.
It's a larger footprint, but same setback from the side property and also same setback from the house.
And this is, do I have a commissioner report on this? I'm trying to remember, this is District 5 or District 7. I believe it was District 7. And do you have any, does anyone have any?
District 5.
Okay, 5, okay.
5. So that's
okay.
Brittany.
She's not, that's fine.
Hi, I'm
Oh,
on.
Brittany.
Hi, everybody. I'm on. I don't have a report any more informative than the residents' presentation. So thanks.
Do we have any questions from the committee? And Diane, you can unmute yourself.
Can we speak to the second variance?
You can either one.
The house, the maneuvering.
You ask any questions that are relevant to your vote.
I'm interested in the other variance and the request about that.
Would you like to explain why you need that, the applicant, Mr. Holtman?
The setback from the house?
No,
No.
it's the maneuvering.
The
The
house
maneuvering.
maneuvering requirement.
For number one, I can't, fitting a pickup truck into the driveway and putting it into the actual garage, it can make it challenging to set that back. In addition, I do have a boat, and I would like to be able to store and close the door with that, and maneuvering that back into the driveway is very challenging if it was to be moved over any further than where it currently sets.
So do you think to have more maneuvering room, you'd have to have a smaller setback, an even smaller setback?
The current setback does work, but if we pushed it back to current to the 3 foot, it would make it almost inaccessible.
I think the question was more along the lines of the 18-foot setback from the house versus the 20-foot required per code. Why are you, is there a reason you could not move the garage 2 foot closer to the rear yard? I see a 15-foot setback there. Is there a reason we can't push the garage 2 foot further back and maintain the 20-foot maneuvering from the house?
May I interrupt? I see Mr. Eppard was having trouble connecting, and he was signed up as the representative, so I don't want to cut him. The lawyer in me doesn't want to cut off the representative if he wanted to do the representing. Mr. Eppard, would you like to comment on that question? Did you hear it?
Yeah, the setback from the house to the garage.
Yes.
Well, he wants to add 8 feet to the current size of the garage, which will put it back to 15 feet, I think, from the new size of the garage to the property line. There's just not a whole lot of room in that yard. I know 2 feet doesn't sound like a lot. Can't remember what the other reason was. I think hey, Mike, is there a tree back there?
There's not a tree directly behind the garage. It was for the interior space for the garage in order to facilitate storing the boat and also being able to park a truck in there and still have room to store things. So,
But how close is it to the back of your lot? Is the back of the garage, is the back of this proposed garage to the back of your lot?
Currently, it's 23 feet without the expansion of the garage, but after we expand the garage another 8 feet in depth, it'll only be 15 feet.
I think the question was, why not move the garage back another 2 feet so that you have, that would leave you still 13 feet in the back of the yard? I think that was the question.
Okay.
Would that solve the problem?
That's a question for Mike. Is that, to me, that doesn't matter. I mean, that's up to the homeowner to decide whether they want to push it back 2 feet. He initially wanted to keep it where it was. So you can fill in there, Mike, and why you wanted to leave it at 18 feet.
so are you suggesting doing the variance for the back of the property?
Right.
There's no variance needed for that.
And
The variance is only needed for the 18-foot minimum from the garage to the house.
dimension of the new
If you pushed it, you still did the 28-foot deep garage, but just pushed it back 2 feet to get that 20-foot minimum requirement from the garage to the house, then we would need a variance for that. There's plenty of room back there to do that.
Isn't adding onto the back of the 10 feet off the property line?
You're still gonna have 13 feet. You got 15 feet after the room additions put on, or the extension of the garage. 10 foot is the minimum. 10 foot is the minimum, but we'll be 3 feet over that.
Do you, did I answer your question? Paul, did you have a question?
Right.
I can't hear you, Paul. Can you? You're not on mute, but we can see, we can barely hear you, I should say. No, it's still. I'm sorry, Paul. I'm going to turn on chat so that I didn't watch I need to watch the chat of the meeting too. Do you want to try to get your microphone working, Paul? Or you can use the call-in number as well. That was in the email you got signing up. So you can, if you call in using that number and then your participant ID, it'll sync your phone with your video here.
In the chat, Stephen, he has utility easement. Is
Oh,
there,
is there oh, I see. Thank you. Utility easement. Is there one that impacts the back of the garage?
According to zoning, it's 10 feet.
And so as long as you stay out of that 10 feet, you're fine.
Correct.
So one thing I don't want to do is set you up so that you have to go. We say no because you promised to move it back, and then all of a sudden they come back and say, well, now you need a different variance. And I don't trying to avoid. So you're confident that we wouldn't put you in that position.
According to what I've been told, but you know how that goes. It depends on who you talk to down there. I've gotten different answers from different zoning people in the past. The only two codes that we're seeking to get a variance is obviously the side setback and that setback from the garage to the house.
How about this?
No, that would also preserve some more green space if we kept the garage where it is, besides adding on, because then he's going to have a 2 foot loss of property, and it's going to be blacktop. So I mean, it's kind of a wash. You know, I know here in Clintonville we always like to keep green space as much as possible.
Oh, okay, thank you. Do we have any other questions from the committee? Okay, do I have any public comment from here? Just raise your hand and I can call on you. Let me check I have to check my email because that's what we promised in our online, and I have no questions via email. Do I have a motion? Do I have a motion, and then if the committee wants, Diane, do you have a motion?
I second it.
What's the motion, Diane? It's to approve both?
Motion to approve both.
And Michael, do we have any discussion?
My question is it in any way possible to consider moving back 2 feet?
Is that a comment?
To eliminate the need for that maneuvering requirement? Or is that really out of the question? Or is that something you'd like to investigate further? I guess that's my question.
The homeowner and the neighbor would prefer to leave it as is, as far as the front of the garage goes, with the current setback of 18 feet. Just because the way the garage is set up with the neighbor's trash cans, fence, the whole 9 yards, that would have to be all altered at an additional expense. That's another reason I just thought of, I forgot about. And I'd like to leave as much space for that back setback utility easement as possible. That's my opinion.
Okay. So do we have any other discussion among the committee? Okay. Okay. I'm just going to call people out that way. Make sure I have the vote right. Michael Haw,
Yes.
Michael Young,
Yes.
Diane Hayford,
Yes.
Judy Minister. I
Yes.
take that as a yes.
Yes.
Paul Bingo. Yes. And I'll vote yes with the comment that I always thought maneuvering room is something that the homeowner does to themselves. So that's one of the, anything that someone does to themselves, I'm much less likely to oppose than when they're doing something to others around them. So that's my comment on that. This will now go forward to a week from Wednesday to the Clintonville Area Commission, 7 o'clock via Zoom. But I should have noted at the beginning that Kelly Teal has an excused absence. She couldn't make it tonight and emailed me in advance.
And Steve, I vote yes too.
Oh, Mike McLaughlin. Everyone votes yes. So I have a vote of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 to nothing. Yes. Okay. Well, Mr. Eppard and Holtman, again, I don't know if Mr. Eppard heard, I apologize for calling Mr. Eppard the homeowner and the mailer that went out.
Oh, that's okay.
But you are both welcome to listen to the rest of the meeting, or you're welcome to enjoy this beautiful evening in Clintonville and leave the meeting as you want. Have a nice day.
Thank you.
Okay. No.
Thank you, everyone.
Next one, BZA 2047 46655 Rustic Bridge Road. In order to build a new addition to allow for a first floor handicap accessible bedroom, homeowner Jane Vandenberg I asked for a variance to decrease the setback from 35 feet to 21 feet 6 inches. Does the applicant wish to talk to us about it? Mr. and Ms. Vandenberg. I'm sorry, I only mislisted Jane because he's the only name on the application. I know
That's
you.
fine. Husband is
Okay.
Andy. Hi. Yeah, we just love South Beach Wald, and we would like to be able to have a first floor master bedroom. So as we get joint replacements and things, it's a little easier to maneuver. And we have an enclosed porch now, which we would remove. It's just kind of a 2-season room. We would remove that and just bump it out about 4 foot 6 inches to the north, which is the side yard. Quite frankly, I doubt that it'll be very noticeable because there's now a planting bed there, which will go away. And it will be built with materials that are very sympathetic to the existing house.
Do we have their commissioner Carpenter is not, Ms. Carpenter is not here. Do we have any questions from the committee? No questions from the committee? And let me check. Nothing. Oh, let's see, for meeting details, please. Oh, Clintonville AC, Commissioner White wanted to know for meeting details of the Clintonville Area Commission, go to the clintonvilleareacommission.org and find the CAC calendar, find the date of the meeting and click on details. There you'll find all Zoom meeting access details that are specific to that meeting. She wanted me to pass that on to everyone here. Do we have, then if I don't have any comment, do I have a motion? Diane, do you vote to, is that a motion to approve as submitted? Do I have a second? Just raise your hand.
I second.
I'll just do it since they're all in favor. Just raise your hand.
Aye.
Can I see your set? Yep. Any opposed? No abstentions. I record that's being recommend approval. That was approval 8-0. And that was hopefully that sounds like hopefully that was a lot easier than you expected.
That was great. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, well, again, look at the area commission calendar for the details for that.
Okay.
Sorry, just wanted to do a note here. On to the last item on the variance agenda, BZA 20046. This is involving the Crest. The name of the applicant is 397R LLC, they want to build a greenhouse. They want variances to reduce the required parking spaces from 62 to 17. And they said that 21 of those spaces normally required is area for the greenhouse, where the greenhouse is. Reduce the minimum building setbacks for the greenhouse from 25 feet to 1 feet along Indianola as shown on the site plan, and is shown on the site plan. Do we have any presentation from the applicant here? I'm sorry.
Yes, I'm here, David Hodge.
David Hodge. Oh, there you are. Okay. So go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, great. First, I'll say my colleague, Katerina Carrick, has done the vast majority of the lifting for this application thus far. However, in the wee hours of the morning Monday, she had a baby. So I'm here instead of Katerina tonight. Mr. Hardwick, I don't know whether it's possible for me to share my screen, which might save some words for me because a picture's worth 1,000.
Yes, go ahead. You can screen share here.
If I know how.
Go ahead. Okay. Yeah, your partner was a master at this. So
I don't see where, let's see.
Should be the bottom of the screen. Yep, bottom of the screen.
Well, I have it up here, but I'm not, let me see if I can do this.
How about this? Well, you're working. Oh, there we go. Okay.
Okay. So I'm going to go to the last drawing here. This shows what the crest is trying to accomplish. They want to create this greenhouse out along the Indianola Avenue frontage. The first variance is to allow that to exist at that location, which is a 1 foot setback from the property line or the Indianola Avenue right of way. I'm not a regular before the Clintonville Area Commission, but I know that you regularly see applications dealing with overlays, which this is not in, and seeing the staff comments. This is a variance that the planning staff is in support of, because I think from their perspective, they believe that having this building as it is with the parking out in front of it is inconsistent with an urban corridor. So I think they are in support of the application because this kind of creates that urban edge along the street and along the sidewalk. So the first variance is to allow this greenhouse building to be set back 1 foot from the property line. The second variance is to reduce the required number of parking spaces for this. And the Crest has been through this process with others at least twice to get other parking variances, first associated with the restaurant itself, then associated with the patio. And now we are back for a parking reduction associated with this greenhouse. Under the city's code, imperfect as it is, we have to say that this is restaurant space because that's the principal use here of the property, and park. And therefore, the code would say that we have to provide 1 parking space for every 75 square feet of this greenhouse. Well, this greenhouse is not going to be a seating area for patrons of the restaurant. This is truly a greenhouse to grow produce, herbs, etc., that will be ultimately incorporated into folks' dishes prepared by the chef at the Crest. So this is to allow an additional 21 parking space reduction above and beyond the previous parking reduction variances that have already been through this process and approved by the city. So this generally shows the concept. I think we also submitted Mr. Hardwick some line drawings of the elevations, but I think this does a much better job of showing exactly what this is and where it's going to go on the property. These are some inspirational images for it. And I will stop there.
I don't think I do. We can
Okay.
get some with
I
me.
can
get some tomorrow.
Let me, someone is not muted.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Someone-
just go ahead and, yeah.
Okay, someone may want to check to see if you're muted. I lost my, I did have, David Vitero, do you have a report from the neighborhood? Commissioner Vitero.
I've been contacted by a few nearby residents who have expressed both some support for the Crest. The Crest is a very well-liked business entity in the community. They've done a lot of civic outreach. I think they're highly regarded in the community. Two residents that live nearby did reach out to me to express some concerns about the sight line and the closeness of the building to the street, with some concern that it would make navigating that intersection a little more difficult. Everything else along Indianola has the setback. This property would stand well forward from that. So the comments that were addressed to me by the nearby residents dealt mostly with the safety and sightline considerations at the corner.
I'm sorry for my,
You muted, Mr. Hardwick.
sorry for my futzing around there. My Bluetooth keyboard died and I needed to put one that actually had a physical connection in. But yet I think I heard from the same two residents. This keyboard does not work like an Apple one, so let me see if I can find the comments that they gave me. Give me a second here. Crest comment. The one comment was that they weren't opposed to having a greenhouse, but they, and as long as it's for the greenhouse and not to expand seating, they do have the safety concern as Commissioner Vitero mentioned. If the greenhouse set back from the street, it might not be such a problem. I guess I should have asked them whether they wanted even less parking, because I assume that's what the trade-off would have been. They also encourage giving tours to families. That might encourage an interest in the food. They are concerned. They also wanted to remind you of the agreement of no employee parking on Kelso. Moving on to the next one. The comment was if they've looked over the application, they show raised beds. They thought it was a lovely idea. They thought they're new to the neighborhood and they've enjoyed dining there multiple times. They have three issues. One is with delivery trucks driving over the grass at the corner of the alley at East Kelso. It's difficult to maintain when it's run over a few times a week. Could deliveries be taken in the parking lot or maybe off Indianola and walked on through the building? The second is I forwarded this on to Commissioner Vitero because the other ones were not zoning related, included noise from the rooftop terrace. And I guess the third one is related to this. Their employees parking on East Kelso off of Indianola is what they've said. So they have young children and don't want them to, and don't like having to park blocks away. Those were the comments that I received. Those were the only two comments I received in response to my emails. Do I have any questions from the committee? Oh, actually, I do have three questions I'd like to get started off with. Just to clarify, you said, is it 1 foot from is the setback 1 foot from the property line, the right of way, or both?
It's the same.
Same, okay. It's the same, the right of way and the property line is actually the city's right of way line?
Correct.
Okay.
So it's not, so we're not talking edge of pavement. We're talking property line.
And how much space is there between the edge of the sidewalk and the greenhouse?
Oh, let's see if I have that dimension on my plan. Just eyeballing this from the edge of pavement at the curb, it's approximately 10 feet.
House, 10 feet, about.
Approximately.
And you said, when I looked, just before the meeting, I checked the staff report and I didn't see one. Is that something on the website? Is that something that just came out?
Well, if I said staff report, I misspoke. It's the staff review results.
Okay. Do you have okay.
I do have the staff review results, but no staff report.
I think the commission might be interested in seeing that beforehand. I did look at, and I didn't see that when I went online. But,
I would be happy to use my limited technological skills and see if I can bring that up.
Okay, if you could just put that before the.
I have one question related to that. In the staff review.
Okay, go ahead.
And did the city staff traffic have any comments on sight lines at the corner there? And did they review that specifically for sight lines around that corner with the position of the greenhouse being so close to the road?
They did review the site plan and the application submitted, and that is not one of the issues that they raised.
It's still, we do all these, were you still working on getting that up?
Yes, I am.
Okay, thanks.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, and Paul Bingle also asked, have they, yeah, you asked the same question. Have the city traffic review offered their views?
Okay, are you able to see this on the screen now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So these are our staff review results. I don't know if you can see my mouse there.
Okay, yes, I can see the hand there.
Okay, we'll first go to address the last question asked about traffic management. And you see here their comments.
Oh, so they do not want the general public to enter the greenhouse.
Correct.
Okay, so that answers the question of the commenter.
We are going to continue to discuss that comment with them. It seems to us that when they used the phrase general public, they meant seating, but it is Crest's intention to have the ability to give tours if folks want to go in there and look around, and also to have their patrons come in and pick things fresh that ultimately are incorporated into their meal.
But no seating. Okay.
Correct.
And Stuart, let's see, anything else? Can you scroll back up and just so we can see the rest of it?
Sure. This one that you see here at the top, where my mouse is now, that's planning.
Yeah.
We have since provided those elevations.
And so you are having significantly less parking than you had. How many parking spaces do you have now, and how many parking spaces will you have when this is done?
This proposal is not cutting into the parking at all.
Okay, so that you will have the same number of parking spaces if this passes that you do right now.
Correct.
And what did they say? What was when you mentioned an additional 21 space reduction? What did that mean?
That's because this greenhouse is 1,560 square feet, And we have to, imperfect as the zoning code is, we have to park that at one, we are obligated to provide one parking space for every 75 square feet of area.
Okay.
So it's just I think it's it's an imperfection in the zoning code, but to me, it's a technical issue, but we have to request this variance as a result.
And can you remind me, how many accessible parking spaces do you have?
There are 3 accessible parking spaces, it looks like. I can bring up the site plan if you'd like, if we're finished with the staff review results.
Okay.
Here are the zoning comments.
I'm sorry. I know I'm skipping around here. Okay. And the reason I've asked that is it's one thing that at least I've started asking people to consider, is that when there are parking reductions, that automatically decreases the number of accessible parking spaces, and the decrease of the same reasoning that allows a significant reduction of regular parking spaces doesn't mean that it doesn't apply to accessible parking spaces. So one thing, I guess in the future, it's probably too late for this application, but to consider, I would though generally support a larger parking reduction in order to turn, say, 2 spaces of regular parking into one accessible parking space. Because that's.
Sure, I'll try to flip over to the plan here now.
Okay.
Oh boy, I gotta look somewhere else, I think.
Well, am I the only one who is interested in seeing the plan? Because if I'm the only one, then I don't want to put him.
I have it already available.
Okay.
I'd like to see the plan, thanks.
Okay. I think it was in the, let's see if I have it here in the application.
Yes, Stephen, can you pull it up?
Yeah, I don't know if I have my computer set to do screen share, but it is on page, it is in the application. It's the only page that's sideways. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's the 9th page of the PDF.
Here it is on the screen. Yeah. I'm better at this than I thought I might be.
Okay.
So, Mr. Hardwick, these spaces where my mouse is, they don't show as being marked on here as being handicap accessible, but I believe that this space, and this space would be considered accessible. But I'm not sure exactly whether all 3 of those meet 80.
I may offer something after the variance to suggest that we would, a second motion to say that we would support, and I don't know if my committee members agree with me, an additional 2 space reduction if that would allow you to put in an additional accessible parking space there. That might, but we'll wait till we get to that point in the meet. Would that be something you'd be willing to consider?
Sure.
Okay. Do I have any other questions from the committee?
Just a clarification. Is there a brick wall at the Crestview end of the greenhouse?
There is sort of an ornamental portion of the greenhouse. Maybe I can flip back over to the rendering to show that, or this shows it reasonably. Mr. Bingle, are you able to see this on the screen?
Yes.
I hate this elevation. I don't think it does a very good job of showing what's happening here, but it was also on the other sort of 3D rendering. I could go back to that as well.
Does that answer your question?
I guess I'm perplexed about the sight line at that intersection. And I did notice what the traffic engineer's comments were on this plan.
Did the
They didn't comment on it at all, on the sightline issue.
Any other go ahead.
I'll say though, you know, we will, to the extent that that the sight line or vision clearance is an issue that we need to draw specifically to the city traffic management office and have them take a look at, we will absolutely do that, you know, between now and the full commission meeting, and have that information of Mr. Hardwick just as soon as we have it available out of the city office. Okay. To be frank, I was a little surprised myself that and questioned whether a variance would be required to the vision clearance section of code. During some of the earlier cases tonight, I grabbed my code book and opened it up to read that section. And I confirmed that this application here at a commercial corner does not require that variance.
Okay. Any other questions from the committee? Okay, let me just check. Just any questions from oh, yes, Diane Hayford.
Do you have a parking agreements with, I think I saw something about shared parking agreements. Does the Crest have that?
They do, with the Xenos organization. I think they're called Dwell now, but yes, I just did a couple of measurements on that too. It's as the crow flies 1,000 feet away. On foot, it's 1,500 feet away, which is 0.3 miles or 4.5 blocks away on foot.
And how many parking spaces is that?
There are,
I think it says 25.
That's right. There are 25.
Okay, thank you.
And do you use those for valet or employee or?
All of the above. And I know that all of you know this even far better than I do, but of course there was a time when the Crest was absolutely, you know, one of the hot spots in town, and there was a lot of demand and a lot of, frankly, disruption at that time. Since then, things have changed considerably for the Crest. They're still a very popular restaurant, but they're not the hot spot or the only place in town. So the parking burden and pressure has significantly reduced, but they have maintained that agreement with the Xenos folks.
Let me pull back to Zoom. I'm going to go through all the screens to see if I see anyone with their hand raised, either their physical hand or if they want to raise the Zoom hand for anyone who wants to make comment. And I will do one last check of my email to make sure no one who's watching this on YouTube or Facebook Live will miss a chance to ask a question, and they have not. Do I have a motion on this?
Stephen?
Oh, yes.
This is Dave Otero. I think I raised my hand. I'm not sure whether I did or not.
I did not see it. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, I just have a few questions. First, the greenhouses generally have some sort of cooling, whether it's a production greenhouse or more of a decorative greenhouse. And your image right now shows sort of what I would call sort of decorative greenhouses, not so much hard production greenhouses. But there's sometimes some noise associated with fans or air conditioning systems, and you're not showing either of those things. And I think for growing conditions, probably the roof needs to be operable to some degree, and there's usually fans associated with production greenhouses or air conditioning systems for things that are more conservatory-like in terms of being people spaces. You've said that this isn't really a people space, so I'm assuming it's more of a production greenhouse, but there does tend to be noise from the fans. So you're not showing any fans. Has that not been a part of the planning yet? You know, this is an early plan and you haven't gotten to that point yet, but I'm concerned if there's fan noise that it's going to be directed very close to the front porch of the duplex, just to the south. Has that been discussed at all? Do you know?
That is, I haven't heard any discussion of fans until you raise the issue.
Okay.
The architect has not mentioned that to me, nor have the Crest owners operators.
Okay, is that something maybe before the commission meeting you could look into, ask the architect to research whatever cooling they might need to do, whether it's using fans and evaporative coolers or conventional air conditioning, just so we know where there might be some noise generating equipment, and you guys would have a chance to locate it and tell us about it at the meeting.
Will do.
Secondly, can you explain a little bit why, if this is a separate building on the same site, why it has to be classified as a restaurant? Why it couldn't be classified as more of the production facility that it is, I think?
Well, as somebody, and it might have been one of the previous applicants mentioned, and as I've experienced, you know, you can go to 4 different site compliance or zoning clearance folks at the city of Columbus and easily get 4 different answers. The answer, and maybe you have that same experience, but my answer here is that when you have a commercial property, and let's say it's an office building, for example, you are parking that at the office requirement. Now, it might have some restaurant in it, it might have some other uses in it, but you have to sort of declare a principal use and park the building on that basis. I believe here that the principal use here is a restaurant. They consider this a building or a structure, and we therefore had to calculate the square footage and request the variance on that basis.
I guess what I'm wondering is, if this is a separate building on the same site, why it wouldn't be classified more in line with what's actually happening there.
It's a fair question, and if that were the case, then while we would have some level of parking variance, and we wouldn't be talking about 21 parking spaces.
Right.
We'd still be here to talk about the setback.
Far few. Yeah. So I guess I wonder if we couldn't, you know, I would hope maybe at the commission meeting, maybe there could be an explanation why that's not an option.
Okay.
And then I'm wondering if we could also get a status on, I think there were 3 previous variance applications which went through the BZA. Each
Correct.
one of those had a number of conditions. And if we could kind of have a synopsis of the status of each of those different variances and each one of those different conditions. So we kind of just know, you know, from a sort of record keeping, you know, how we're keeping pace with that. There's kind of a long track record with this, and we just want to make sure that we're all kind of pulling on the oars in the same direction. Is that possible for us to have at the commission meeting?
Absolutely. I'll have all of those board orders ready to do a screen share, and I will also provide those to Mr. Hardwick or whoever I need to provide them to in advance of the full commission.
Okay, that would be welcome. The last thing is kind of an observation, and that is that if you go to your site plan for a minute, the building, I think it shows the pavement, and I think it's just taking a second here for you to get your plan back up.
It's going to take me a second.
Okay, sorry about that. I know you had it earlier, so I should have brought it up at that point. Sorry.
I think I can get right to it. There we go.
Yeah, you know, the width of the sidewalk along Indianola there is I would be generous if I called it 5 feet wide, and you can see just kind of conditionally the building may be, again, you know, it might be generous to say that it's 10-foot setback from the curb. It's a foot back from the right-of-way line there, but it's pretty close. And as a person who's ridden the Coda bus that picks me up right at the corner of Crestview and Tulane or Indianola here for the past 18 years, I've been out standing on that corner in every weather condition conceivable. when there is a snow and they do have plows, they'll throw debris, far enough that I guess there'd be some, I guess I'd urge you to have some consideration to whether polycarbonate or glazing wants to be that close to the road with everything that gets kicked up and thrown by a snowplow when they're plowing the road. Just an observation and something I hope maybe you can be aware of and not a rude awakening at some point when maybe there's some damage done to the building. It is very close to the road, and that's a bit of a concern for me that the sightline issues raised by neighbors are kind of a concern, and the potential noise, if we can get an idea of what's going on with the presence or absence of fans and air conditioning. But
yep, it's a great observation about the material and whether that can be durable enough to endure weather and snow plowing and things. I'll ask the architects to provide me with an answer to that question as well.
All right, thanks very much.
Stephen?
Yeah, yes, Commissioner Weatherholt.
I just wanted to say in the packet that I have, the previous zoning variances are on there, the approval by the BZA and everything. Is that what David was talking about?
No, what I'd like to know is what's the status of all those different BZA conditions? Are they still meeting those conditions? Have some of those fallen by the wayside because circumstances have changed? Things are different a little bit. I think David is right that the huge success of the Crest and the traffic demand or the parking demand has changed since they opened, but those conditions are still there. I just kind of wonder what's going on with them.
Thanks.
You're muted, Mr. Hardwick.
I'm sorry, but do I have any other comments? That I was flipping screens to go check my email to see if there were any comments from the public.
Is there lighting in the greenhouse?
I believe there would be lighting in the greenhouse, although I do not have those details. I'll make sure to have those ready later as well.
Because I think the commission would probably be interested in what the hours would be if that's going to be something lit up late into the night.
I'll get that.
Any other? Let me pull back to my Zoom screen here so I can see everyone. Going through everyone, and it does sound like someone wanted to make a comment. Okay, do I have a motion then?
Motion to approve.
Okay.
Second.
Second. Could you do me a favor, please, and take the screen share off so we can see each other a little better, please?
Stephen.
Thank you so much. Go ahead.
Do we need to accent the language so that it's very clear that this includes all the previously concessions isn't the right word, but all the things from the past zoning packages, nothing's being voided from the past?
Maybe we could say, let me pull up trying to craft a motion here, with the understanding that all conditions previously imposed remain in effect. The committee recommends approval of the variances as requested. Is that, Paul, does that satisfy what you were saying?
As long as we're not tripping over ourselves, if one of those variances had something to do with that green parcel between the parking lot and the street. I don't want to create an unintended problem. Diane, are you remembering what any of the details were that we might be in conflict by making that statement?
No, but I can go back and find my old book and look it up. and get back to the commission. If there's
Sounds good.
anything, if there's anything concerning. I'm trying to remember the cases, the two cases were largely about parking, as I recall, correct?
It's my
And you
memory.
want to know more about right of way, is that correct?
Yeah, I just want to make sure that buried in all of that wasn't an issue that we're going to trip over, because we're recommending approval, and I don't want to say at the same time, provided that all other things stick, if there's something that this overrides.
I'll go back and find my old books and check it out.
I'm trying to think, does this say anything by the site? This does required spaces. This does, it just shows, it does say reduce the minimum setbacks from 25 feet to 1 feet along Indianola as shown by the site plan. So it does say it would allow, if like that, I guess theoretically, if there was something there before that could. Do you understand what we're saying, Mr. Hodge, about?
Yes, I do.
Because that's something you could look up, and I know, and Diane Hayford keeps it.
Can you help me by letting me know, do you remember when those cases were?
I think I have the
Like
board.
there was the first one and then the patio one.
Yeah. If you'll give me 1 second, I think I can pull the board order.
Yeah,
Did you look in the package, Diane, that we've got?
I did. I don't remember running across that, but I wasn't looking for it either.
They did see right near the end, they have the May 2011, the May 24th, 2011 variance, final variance, the April 23rd, 2013 final variance, the December 17th, 2013 board order. So we have three things in the packet that they have
So
included.
May 2011, April 13, and December 13.
May
Yes.
2011, yes.
Okay, I'll look it up. I know what book it's in. I'll find it.
Okay. Okay, do we have any other questions? Okay, do I have a clean motion to approve as submitted? Or does someone want to make a different motion? I don't see anyone.
I move to approve both variances.
Do I have a second?
I second.
Okay. Any discussion? Okay, let's go to a vote. Let me do this one by one here. And I'm trying to manage two screens, two windows on the same screen here, one with my notes and one with the there it goes. Here are my notes. Okay. Okay. Let me just go. Michael Haw?
Yes.
Yes. Michael Young?
Yes.
Diane Hayford?
I'm abstaining. I'd like to get more information to be found out about lighting, about the traffic obstruction, about there was one other thing. A little bit more information, I think. So I'm going to abstain.
Mike McLaughlin?
Yes.
Paul Bengal?
Remind me who the commissioner is in this district?
David Patero?
So good, so he's heard everything, so I'm okay then, yes.
Okay. Judy Minister?
Yes.
And did I miss anyone? And I vote yes as well, so that's approved by a 7-0 to 1. And I have two things after this. I have my own motion, and then I have one other thing to go up. So it's 701. And I would like to offer a motion, and that says the committee, no, let me get my notes back up here. Draft agenda. Here we go. That's the PDF. There we go. apologize for this. I have too many things on my screen. That's how I do it. Go this way. Okay. Sorry for the, thank you for your patience. The committee would support and would recommend, the committee would recommend support for an additional 2 spaces, for an additional 2 space reduction if the applicant would provide an additional accessible parking space. And that is my motion. Do I have a second on that? Okay. Actually, you know what I haven't done, and I'm going to skip. Do I have any comments from the public on that motion, since that was new and not part of the agenda? And I'm going to double check my email, so we're dotting i's and crossing t's and not leaving anyone out. No one's submitted anything. Any comments from the committee? Okay, let's go ahead and vote again.
Honestly, this is, I don't see the purpose, as this was not something that's requested by the applicant, nor is it something that's requested or asked about by the city. So I don't know that it's anything we really need to be addressing at this time.
And that, I think part of the reason why I'm raising this is because no one else is raising it. And it was in the past, I thought one of the most compelling arguments against the variances were the effect on people. We do these with the expectation that people will walk to these places, will walk to the events or take public transportation, but the people who use the accessible spaces, that's not a reasonable expectation of them. And it's, I guess, my effort to raise the awareness on that issue. And at least if the applicant decides later to do that, then they don't have to come back through the process. That's my reason.
I mean, the other thing from a public standpoint is this site has already had issues from the neighbors with parking. And I think further reducing the parking could put us back into a situation where we're having problems again. That's something to be aware of here.
That's fair. That's fair. Any other comment? Okay. Think about them. Do I have did I have a second for that? I don't remember if I had a second for that. I don't, then I'm not going to proceed with the vote. Okay, my motion dies for want of a second. Okay, then the last comment, the last item on the agenda, I want to give Paul Bingle a few moments. Can you figure out your microphone yet?
I've got a phone.
Oh, fantastic. Go ahead, Paul.
Just want to say goodbye to everybody. After a few decades, I think between 30 and 40 years of doing work for Clintonville, we're moving. And so that's exciting on one hand, but I'm going to be sad on another. And I want to thank you for your love and your continuing passion and support of our beloved neighborhood, even though after 40 years, I'm abandoning the neighborhood to move to the country. Linda and I are building a new house north of, in between Powell and Delaware. And I think we're moving in August or September, but the buyers are anxious to move into our house. So we'll be vacating Clintonville and moving up to Worthington in a couple weeks. So thank you for your support for the projects that I've worked on over the years, and keep going, keep loving this community, and let's bring up the next generation of leaders to continue to carry on the good work that we've all done. So thank you.
Oh, we'll miss you.
Some
And thank-
people won't.
And my first experience with him was, I think you're on the bylaws committee with me.
I was.
Yes. And
I don't even remember my first experience with Paul. It's been such a very, very long time. But it's been many wonderful years, and I've always appreciated your leadership and your passion for our neighborhood, and all the best to you. I'll miss you.
Thank you. We have the same mentors, the people who
did.
coached us to start so many years ago. And I miss those people too, because they were the inspiration that helped us get excited about this community.
Agree, I agree. I'd also like to say hello to Brittany. You're my commissioner now. So sorry.
I thought I saw you walking on Grandin the other day.
You
Hello.
did, you did. Now I know what you look like. I'll say hi, but welcome and congratulations.
Thank you. And I appreciate the opportunity to listen into this committee and learn as I start the term. Thanks.
okay. Well, thank you, Paul. You've always been. I'm going to miss having you on the committee. You have a knowledge of the history and the law and how things work here that we will miss. We will miss. Thank you for all your service. And
Thank
with
you.
that, just thank you. The final of this will be heard on July 2nd at the Clintonville Area Commission at 7 p.m. via Zoom and Facebook Live and our YouTube channel. And that's it. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
A motion to adjourn.
Any objection? So then we are adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you all. Good night.